episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 9, Episode 19.
Or Episode 209 if you're counting.
Very good to see you guys again today. Thank you for joining us on another Saturday. I'm feeling pretty good about today. Been really excited because I actually started setting up some Final Fantasy XI stuff with some other folks, doing stuff within this next week with Suede and Zenith. Very excited about that because the two of them have not played Final Fantasy XI before, but I have, and it's incredibly difficult for newbies to get into, and even for people who haven't been in a long time. So, super happy to be setting that up. Tomorrow we're going to be streaming some more of that in the early mornings. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good. I'm waiting for tonight. You're right. You know I'm wearing this shirt.
Well, it's not because we're seeing Batman, because we're not seeing Batman.
But Batman is in this movie as an action figure. We're going to go see Shazam tonight.
Yeah!
They're doing the early showings tonight from Fandango. So for those of you, I think some of you still have the chance to do it. Once we're done, we're still going to have some time before we can get over to the theater. So for those of you interested, most likely on this coast, you can check that out. It's tonight only. If you can't see it tonight, you got to wait to see it with everybody else. It was an iffy decision, but you wanted to see this because I'm hearing the reviews are really good on this.
I'm hearing that it is good if predictable. It's just your kind of normal setup for a...
It's an origin story.
Origin story, yeah, exactly. That's all I'm hearing, yeah.
The other thing, though, is, of course, this is another big weekend because normally this is Us.
Mm-hmm.
Us, not This Is Us. That's a show on NBC that'll make you cry. This will make you cry because you're scared. Us, Jordan Peele's newest one, is actually out in theaters this weekend, too. I've got to get to a theater to see that soon because I've got people on my phone. My phone's blowing up with people chomping at the bit like, I need to talk to somebody. Josh, talk to me about this. Talk to me about this.
I understand.
I'll get to it. It's just this year's a big year for movies.
A lot of movies that we're having to blow through, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just one after another, after another, after another. So I will try to get to that within the following week. That way we can talk about that later. Mm-hmm. If anybody has seen it, don't tell me anything yet. I want to go in there fresh.
Right. Definitely, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because kind of the thing going into Get Out was the less you knew going in there, the better.
Yeah, I would agree.
I feel like it's the same going into this one because any of the reviews that I've read so far have given away next to nothing.
It's just so fascinating that, the director Jordan Peele has gone from comedy to doing such really fascinating kind of really culturally relevant sort of stories,
well, if you look back at a lot of the sketches that he was writing there on Key and Peele, some of them had a really dark turn on some of them. It's like, oh wow, that's pretty dark there, but it added to the laughter.
Right.
So it was kind of always there in him. He just needed the playground to play on with these ideas that he had. That makes
sense, yeah.
So that's how we got Get Out. This is how we're now dealing with Us. There's already people on Twitter saying, I can't wait for his next one, but I need to get to this one, so let me get through this one, and then I'll join you talking about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Get Out was great. We both really, really enjoyed Get Out.
Oh, so. Absolutely. I will, if I have to go see it tomorrow, I'll find a way to do it. Because I want to be part of that opening weekend audience, which is what we did with Get Out, and it was worth it.
It was very, very worth it.
You know, we were high-fiving people and having conversations after the movie was over.
I was having conversations with people during the movie. That was
great.
You're making friends with the person next to you, like, oh no, why is she doing that? Like, it was really weird.
But I think that's what he was hoping for, and that's what he gave us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely want to check that out. One of the things we also wanted to talk about just briefly is we did get to watch the first episode of this newest Super Sentai, Kishiryu Sentai Ryu Soldier. Saw that, finally. It's kind of slow until you get to the Megazord / mech fight.
Oh, the Zord fight
and then
is
it's nuts.
Clearly the peak of this new season currently, as far as one episode is concerned, yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's like the whole idea that last season with Lupin Ranger versus Potch Ranger, 90% of those fights were CG, and really I didn't like the design very much on those mechs, I got to admit, and that really is a turnoff for me. But for this one, completely, like, almost completely practical effects. You know, it looks like they reached out to Subaraya for some pointers on
I'm
how
sure
to
they
deal
did
with
not.
scale.
I'm sure they did not.
Well,
but
maybe they watched and they learned. You know, they can watch some stuff and learn
I
a thing
have
or
to
two.
imagine that anybody who works in Tokusatsu in Japan probably has seen one another's stuff, because how can you not, really, quite frankly? How can you not be somewhat influenced by Ultraman? How can you not be somewhat influenced by Kamen Rider? I feel like there's tones of Kamen Rider that you can see in Ultraman Rube. I feel like there's
a little bit.
I feel like there's tones of Ultraman that you can see here in Ryu Soldier. You know, I don't think that's totally outside the realm of possibility.
Well, I think it's just really apparent there. You know, when you see that they're finally taking care, that they're showing the mech. I haven't properly learned the name yet, so forgive me on that. You know, jumping and then landing on the ground. You see that blast of dirt coming up, which is something they normally ignore. You know, it's just kind of there, and then we get into the fight. But here it's probably the most mobile Sentai mech I've seen since I think Geki Toja back in Geki Ranger, and that was a while ago at this point.
Sure.
So, you know, it was refreshing to see that. We haven't seen today's episode of Beast Morphers yet. Hopefully we'll get around to that later in the day. So far, so good. We had the X Games episode last week.
Yeah, it was very... There was some weird wire work, but it was still a fun watch.
But they went for it. That was the thing. Like,
oh, sure. I think it's better to take that risk than to not.
I would agree.
And I think they're doing a good enough job taking risks. Because it's super important that under a new set of hands that you start to take risks. And to not take risks would just be like, oh, well, how are you any different? You would probably be losing money if you did not take risks, which is what Hasbro seems to be doing. It's working for them. Just keep going.
Yeah, so it was interesting to see that. I definitely like how they are adapting certain things from Go Busters in a way that I find more palatable.
Sure.
Like, it didn't quite work out on the Japanese end, but they were hoping, they made it with the hope that it would get adapted, and now Hasbro's like, I see what you were doing here. Okay, we got this, And they're doing it.
Yeah,
they're doing the things Saban should have been able to do. So hopefully we'll see more of that in today's episode. I forget what the plot of it was. I know they put like a clip or something out earlier this week. But I guess it's a good year for Sentai.
Yeah, I hope so.
Or Sentai footage in general. But that having been said, we do have a show for you guys today. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Our first story of the evening, we just got a new trailer this week for Toy Story 4. So we're learning more about what's going on with Woody and the crew, running back into Bo Peep, this new idea of what exactly it means to be a toy with this new toy that Bonnie has made that's kind of having an identity crisis. So we'll talk to you guys about that.
Right, so, but to transition away from Disney or kind of into more Disney material?
I guess it's more now.
Yeah, so we've talked about it before. The Fox and Disney merger finally went through this week. Really big deal. Lots of things are under the Disney umbrella, which could mean a lot of really good things, but it also means, man, that monopoly is getting kind of dangerous. So,
yes.
Let's just talk about everything. Everything.
As much as we can.
Everything that we can cover, everything that might be kind of scary, and everything that might be kind of cool. Lots of possibilities here.
Yes, but one of the things that's not under that umbrella is specifically Stranger Things, and we got a trailer for Season 3 this week.
Finally.
People have been chomping at the bit to see this thing. We finally got some footage coming out this summer. We're going to talk to you guys about the aesthetic there. We're in solid 80s territory now.
Yeah.
Not just the cusp of the 70s ending. No, we're in the 80s now. So we'll talk to you guys about that, what the new threat is, and what we're hoping to expect from this new season.
Definitely. Before that, I know you've got some follow-ups for us.
Right? Why would I have follow-ups?
Alright, never mind. I guess that's our show for the evening.
Alright, guys. Thanks for coming in. No. Every week, I gotta do it. It's my favorite thing to do. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk, of course, with DC News leading off. First and foremost, talking about The Batman. So Matt Reeves has confirmed that winter is, in fact, the start for shooting.
Cool.
So now we can go ahead and narrow that down. That means they have to come up with an idea for who's going to be playing Bruce Wayne sometime soon. According to a lot of outlets, we're hearing that the main villain of the movie is going to be primarily Penguin, but there are other villains thrown throughout, and there's some sort of larger mystery that they're all tied to that Batman has to solve.
Okay.
So we are getting that confirmation. No, every time he talks to an outlet, Matt Reeves confirms, no, it's a detective story. We're giving you guys Detective Batman. And I'm like, yes, please, just don't give me a sucky suit. I want a good suit. You know, maybe
well,
not.
Who wants a bad Batman suit? Why would anyone want
it's
a bad Batman suit?
I think it's the whole thing, and maybe this is just me over the last couple of years, but the more plasticky it looks, the less hard it is to figure out that Batman has money.
Sure.
You know, I would think if you're looking at it, you shouldn't be able to tell that it's armored. It should throw you off. You know?
Sure.
So, I mean, maybe that's just my thing.
No, I totally agree, because if he's got money, then it's like, all right, who do we narrow down to say that somebody's at least involved in helping Batman, if not Batman himself?
Okay, let's see who's in the tax bracket for who could be helping Batman. See, it's Bruce Wayne and no one else. Yeah, so hopefully they take things like that into consideration. No nipples. We're done with that. Nipples went out in 97.
Yeah.
No nipples.
Let's be very careful with ass cheeks, too.
That, too.
Like, ass cheeks, I think you could get away with, but you still have to be careful about just how supple they are.
Yeah. And the thing about it was, like, I think they were very generous when it came to George Clooney's supple cheeks. Also, I hate you now for making me say George Clooney's supple cheeks on air. Like, why would you do this to me? I'm wearing the shirt right now, and you make me say this sentence.
Well, at least you can't see his bat nipples on the shirt.
No, thankfully not. Okay, so moving on to some other news. We got a new trailer for Krypton Season 2. We're seeing some of the new villains, or rather returning villains in a bigger role. We see Zod, Brainiac, and now Doomsday, looking very much like the comic-accurate version, but still, this is a prequel, so what the hell is Doomsday doing there in the past?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a thing.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that shouldn't... You know what? There were a lot of things that shouldn't have been there even in the first season. I was writing the captions for a few of the episodes
You were,
of the
that's
first
right.
season. So who knows, I might get some of the captions for the second season too. But I just felt like, man, just a lot of people that shouldn't be here and shouldn't, like, know each other in different ways.
Yeah.
But they do. They're kind of pulling a Gotham in some ways. But,
which we've only got 2 episodes left, so we're almost done there.
Yay!
All right.
But Krypton is no Gotham, right? I enjoyed Krypton so far more than I enjoyed Gotham, me personally. Because it wasn't a total horrible stretch. I see how they got there, but it was still weird.
I think now that we're at the end, I can finally say you have to accept... If you're a purist, you probably won't enjoy Gotham. But if you accept it for the story they're telling, like, this is the roundabout way we got to Batman, then it's a lot more enjoyable that way.
That's
true. You know, I don't want to take away from anybody's interpretation of their characters, of, you know, the Riddler or Penguin. You know, in their own right, they're very entertaining. And I'm not taking anything away from that. It's just as far as what you're used to... Yeah, it's a different flavor, but some people really like that flavor. It's just not necessarily mine.
I agree.
Okay, so moving on to some other news here. Over on the Flash movie. So apparently Ezra Miller is actually helping, getting his hands in there, writing the Flash movie, as well as starring in it still. And they say they're committed to telling the best story that they possibly can, which is really echoey of the same thing that Ben Affleck was saying right before he left. So we don't know. At this point, they keep saying that they're committed to it, that they want to tell the story of Barry Allen there in the movies, but at this point, if it's not going to be Flashpoint, and now they're thinking of re-separating everything, like, no, this is a movie that's on its own, this is a movie on its own, a bunch of standalones, then what will it really matter?
Yeah.
So who knows? So we'll keep an eye on that for you guys.
Fantastic.
Moving over to some Marvel news here. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But what's cool is, since we are talking Disney things, over the Disney parks, they like having these face characters there that kids can interact with. You can take your picture with.
A lot of the princesses, typically, yeah.
But also now, with the addition of Marvel, you want to see those characters around. So you see Captain America, you see Loki walking around, and now we will get to have a new look at Spider-Man. And this Spider-Man there at the park has a very unique costume. It's based off the Tom Holland suit, but it's got a couple of different affectations.
Okay.
It's a completely different spider on the chest. The web shooters are silver instead of black. And the symbol on the back, I believe, is the Iron Spider symbol, but made big to put there on regular Spider-Man.
So it's a very specifically Disney theme park Spider-Man.
Well, they wanted it easily recognizable as Spider-Man.
I mean, obviously, it's hard to not recognize Spider-Man when he's red and he's blue and he's one giant leotard and, you know...
But they wanted to give it that kind of leeway where you would think without really looking at it, like, oh yeah, that's the movie Spider-Man. But if you look closer, it's like, Is he though? There's a couple of little differences there. But you know, we dealt with stuff like that in between the Raimi movies where the suit just changed that a little bit. So it's fine here looking from that to this. Maybe we'll actually see Tom Holland wear this at some point later on down the road. But he's already got...
He'll totally do it at a Disney theme park and not tell anybody.
Oh, you mean like how Andrew Garfield did that over on Hollywood Boulevard one time?
Yeah, he did do that, right?
Yeah, it was just a store-bought Spider-Man costume, and he was there trying to get money from people. I think it was a Jimmy Kimmel skit.
That makes sense. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, his studio is on Hollywood Boulevard.
So he could just do that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't doubt it at all that Tom Holland would just go there one day like, hey, can I put on the suit? And then, like, yeah, it's your suit. What do you... Don't ask us. So, yeah, that's the thing we have to look forward there from Disney and Spidey. Let's go ahead and move on to another thing Disney owns, but you're actually really happy about the inclusion. So we're seeing that there's going to be a panel at Star Wars Celebration for The Mandalorian, which is this new bounty hunter focused series that they're going to be telling. But one of your favorite, if not your absolute favorite, bounty hunter is being included in the cast, and we now know who's going to be playing that. IG-88, the stick figure-esque bounty hunter, will be voiced by Taika Waititi, the director of Thor Ragnarok.
I mean, he's clearly the greatest bounty hunter that has ever existed in the Star Wars universe, regardless of the fact that we've not ever seen him actually say or do anything within the confines of the films, like the films 1 through 8.
Yeah.
And who knows if he shows up in 9? Probably not. But still the greatest bounty hunter that has ever been. I don't care how many people want to say Boba Fett is the greatest dude, like, fell into a pit and died. Oh, he comes back out into books.
Not anymore. Those books don't count.
Well, now sometimes they count and sometimes they don't.
They pick and choose now.
Yeah, they keep pulling from them, so...
What I think is really funny, though, is in Thor Ragnarok, he's also the voice of Korg there in the movie, so I'm wondering if that's just the voice they're going to go with, like, hey, so we're going out and we're going to kill some people.
Alex Kitten, thank you very much for the follow. Greatly appreciate it.
So we're going to kill some people, and I'm going to collect the bounty.
I don't think it's going to be that humorous.
No, I think it was kind of going into more of a Rhys Davies voice than his, but you know, it's the New Zealand accent.
Yeah, well, an accent is different from somebody's method of delivery.
Yeah.
So no, I disagree with your assessment there.
Well, we'll see. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to some Godzilla news. So, of course, we're waiting for Godzilla King of the Monsters. We're getting unconfirmed reports that different theaters are already starting to put the tickets on sale. So far, that seems to have been an error on some independent theaters here and there across the country. Maybe just jumping the guns just slightly. They will let us know when those go on sale. But along with that, over in Hellboy news, those tickets are on sale. So if you want to go ahead and get those out of the way, just go ahead and head over to your whichever movie website you want to use to get those and get your Hellboy tickets now. I'm going to wait. I don't think it's going to sell out.
You don't think so? I mean, it looks entertaining enough. I
mean,
mean,
but that's my point. Enough.
Yeah.
When it's entertaining enough, you'll wait.
Sure. Well, you will wait because that's what you're doing. But if I were you, I'd get them ahead of time anyway because everybody's going to wait. And then everybody's going to be like, oh crap, we waited. So...
Okay, I'll wait till the second to last moment, and then we'll get the tickets.
All right, that's better.
Okay, so moving on to some other news here. The Doom reboot has officially started filming.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to hopefully be looking into the visual aesthetic of the movie, how they're going to be adapting things, how the Atreides family is going to look here in this new thing, how they're going to do the eyes. Because I'm wondering if they're not just... Because if I remember correctly, before it was contacts, I'm wondering if they're not just going to CG it, just do it in post.
That's possible. It's entirely possible, yeah.
Because it might just be easier. Like, no, we'll just do it in post. It's easier that way. So, you know, we'll have that to look forward to there. Over on the Terminator end of things, so we can confirm the title of this newest movie, which is going to be Terminator Dark Fate. Kind of tying into that whole thing, there is no fate but the one we make. That saying that Sarah Connor tells John there in the second movie.
Okay. I'm just done with Terminators, quite frankly.
Well, I do appreciate this whole Halloween approach to where movies 1 and 2 happened and none of the other ones happened.
That's fair. That's very, very fair.
Now, to be fair, I was actually pretty okay with Terminator 3, and I was mostly okay with Salvation up until the end, and then screw Genesis.
No.
And Sarah Connor Chronicles was okay. Could have been better, but okay.
I didn't spend a lot of time with Sarah Connor Chronicles, so
It could have been better.
I'll take your word for it.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to some other news here. Over with Detective Pikachu news. So we did say before that, of course, this is going to be getting a release there in Japan. So we do have 2 confirmations there for the cast. One we already knew about. Kamen Rider Drive's Ryoma Takeuchi will be voicing the lead there in the movie.
In the Japanese version.
In the Japanese version. And for that same version, the female lead will be Marie Itoyo, who was the second Kyoryu Violet there in Kyoryuger.
Very interesting.
So nice to have that Tokusatsu connection there in Detective Pikachu. Along with that, we got some interesting news that some people were very surprised to hear about and then very furious about, which was that in planning out how this movie was going to work, you remember how back with Aladdin, back in '92, I believe it was, the way they tried to pitch it to Robin Williams was they took some of his stand-up and then
they
just
animated it, yeah.
Same thing happened here with Detective Pikachu, except they didn't use Ryan Reynolds. They actually talked to Danny DeVito to do this, to get the idea of how Detective Pikachu would look and feel with a human's voice, and then we didn't get Danny DeVito.
Probably because it doesn't work as well as people think in their heads it's going to work.
I guess so. I mean, they're the ones that have to make the decision over it. Legendary and Warner Brothers, but some people are really upset that, you mean we almost had it? Can we see some of the footage? Give me something.
Maybe one day on a Blu-ray release, it'll be a behind-the-scenes extra sort of a thing. They do that from time to time.
Right. Okay, so moving on to some other news here over on the Netflix end of things. So they have confirmed over there at Netflix that the premiere of Neon Genesis Evangelion will happen on June 20th.
Yep.
Unfortunately, tied to that, some of the actresses working on the show, specifically Amanda Wynn Lee, has gone on record to say officially no, none of us were reached out to, neither me nor Spike nor Tiffany. None of us are involved in this new dub.
Yeah, they never intended to try to recast or try to cast them again in the first place. So,
that's kind of cold. I gotta admit, that's kind of cold.
Maybe, personally, I would imagine that's just the nature of what entertainment is. You don't need to be told that you're not doing something that you didn't know was even a thing you were going to be doing anyway if you weren't going to do it in the first place.
Well, I get that. Like, you're only on a need-to-know basis and you didn't need to know.
Yeah, there was no reason for them to need to know that information. It's a little sad, sure, that you might not come back, but, I mean, why cast the same person again to do the exact same lines that they've already done before, you know? Why do that? Mind you, why need to redub it entirely all over again anyway, unless the rights to, like, these particular voices fall under some umbrella that they could not get.
Well, one thing that you would even understand is that a redub would be understandable if there was a translation issue. Like,
sure,
if something wasn't accurately done, then of course you do need to translate it.
100%, yeah.
So if that was a case that they got an updated script or they looked at it and said, you know what, we really need to redo this, this isn't accurate, then I get that. I totally am behind that. I understand you would be too.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, if there's nothing wrong with it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
The only other thing I can imagine is a licensing issue. That's literally the only other thing. It's either a licensing issue or it's a translation issue, and that's it.
Well, the other thing I gotta tie it to is, like, the idea of... You even look at it with superhero movies. Superhero movies are the Shakespeare of our day. In that, you know, so many people get to take a crack at all of these ideas. Like, there is no just one Batman. You can have your favorite, but there is going to be all of these different chances over our lifetimes and other people's lifetimes to take a crack at what I think Bruce Wayne is or who I think Professor X is. So it's kind of the same thing I would like to see with anime is like, okay, what's my crack at Shinji Ikari? What's my crack at Rei Ayanami? You know, so let other people get a chance to do it, sort of
Which,
thing.
you know, unfortunately, I feel like you only get so much range to do that when there's already footage you're setting it to. You already can see what the characters are supposed to be reacting to. You can already see what their facial expressions are supposed to be doing. You don't really have much range to get another crack at it. There's really not that much room.
But we'll have to see. So come June, set your calendars, get your people together, drink some Tang that day, because that's going to be the day to do it, and hopefully before then we'll find out who this new cast is. All right, so moving on to some other news here. Over with some Sega news. So Sega's been putting out some feelers out there for a lot of their different franchises, Crazy Taxi, Sonic the Hedgehog, some other ones, and asking people in an online survey, what is it that you want to see more of? And one of those particular IPs you're very interested in, Sakura Wars.
Sakura Wars!
Not Sakura Tyson, Sakura Wars.
They put Sakura Wars all over the place in that survey. Did you take the survey?
I did take the survey.
Good. Did you say you wanted Sakura Wars?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. If not, we were going to have a problem.
No, we don't have a problem.
We don't have a problem. That's fine. Sega to Sanshiro. Sega to Sanshiro is the only dude who should be paired with Sakura.
And you're just going to shaft Ogami like that.
I mean, Ogami's alright if Sega to Sanshiro is not around.
So much hate.
Which he wasn't around for, like, I don't know, like 15 years. So, you know.
He was fighting Shocker.
He had a good run. You know,
he was fighting Shocker.
Ogami had a good run, and then Sega to Sanshiro came back in Project Cross Zone 2, and then True Love was found all over again. Sorry, Ogami, like, you're the 15-year standby. I'm sorry, my man.
Look, she needs Ogami because Sega to Sanshiro has more important things to do, like protecting the peace and freedom of humanity.
And that's why she loves him, Josh.
Oh my god. So yes, you can go ahead and check that out. Go over to Sega's website. They have a link there so that you can fill out this form.
On their Twitter account right now, you just scroll down just a little bitty bit. It's there.
Yes, and you can take part in that as well. So moving on to some Power Rangers news here. So we've got an update on Battle for the Grid, which is this new fighting game we've been telling you guys about. We've seen a trailer. Now we know when the release date is. Officially, so it's kind of split up a little bit weird. So next Tuesday on the 26th, it will drop on Switch and Xbox One. A week later on April 2nd, that's when it will drop on PS4, and then it will be released on PC as well, but that won't be until summer. And we don't know why it is that they divvied it up like that. Usually if it's a multi-platform release, you just do it all same day.
Maybe, but maybe they wanted extra time so that PC can get some extra features like modding capabilities. A lot of PC fighting games are very open to the idea of modding. So imagine being able to mod your favorite Power Rangers and perhaps like mod in the audio so that you get audio from Sentai teams instead of Power Ranger teams. That'd be super cool if you ask me.
Because for as much as people like Gia, I would so quickly switch out her audio. That way I could tell myself that was Luca.
What would also be really interesting too is that if you just like spawn a copy of a particular Sentai character, and then one of them gets a North American voice, and the other one gets a Sentai voice, Japanese voice, and have them
You want to have
Jason
other. Versus Geki or something like that.
Yeah, I think that'd be amazing. I think that'd be absolutely amazing.
I can get behind that. I can actually get behind that.
Do we know whether or not the game is going to feature, like, a create-your-own-character sort of a feature?
Not as far as we've been told yet, but if they're going to do that modding on there, I sooner see that people are going to mod in Kamen Rider characters very quickly.
Yeah.
So you can have Masked Rider fight the Power Rangers, or you can have Kamen Rider Black RX with your Japanese option, which I am also very much in favor of. So let's go ahead and move on to some other Toku news here. So we've got a picture here of the newly announced Shinkoku Seiho Kamen Rider O's figure. Now, for those of you who don't know what Shinkoku Seiho is, that's when they've taken these new figures, which they've been doing over the last 2 years, and they've given it the muscle structure there of the original suit actor. So instead of looking like an action figure, it looks like a human. So we've got that there. That's going to be released in August. For any of you who are trying to get rid of your current O's figure, just send them over to me here in California. I will gladly take them. But until that point, I'm just going to be saving my money to get that, because that is a beautiful looking figure.
Very, yeah.
And our last bit of follow-up news here is in regard to Kamen Rider Geo. Of course, we've already seen the return of Kaguya Tsukasa there as Decade, but we're also seeing the return of Kimito Totani there in upcoming episodes as Kamen Rider The End.
You notice I labeled the picture as The End.
Yes.
His name is The End. Let's be really, really clear about this. Every time we bring him up, I'm not gonna let people forget his name is The End, not The End. I don't care what you think it is. They mean The End.
The End.
His name is The End.
The End. And there you can see his new Neo DN driver, which people were theorizing would eventually be a thing. Now it is a thing, we can confirm that. That's going to be released as a complete selection modification, and it's going to be hella expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because now it's got new, improved electronics, so it's going to be reading a ton of other cards that it couldn't before. So if you guys want to save your money for that, go right ahead. I'm just going to save mine for an action figure, but that's all we've got for the follow-ups. Let's go ahead and get into our first trailer for the evening with Toy Story 4.
And there it is playing in the background. Okay, and we've got it muted. Yes?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank God. There, not blowing out your ears this week. Woo! So, hey, are you getting any feelings out of this trailer?
Well, see, here's the thing. So going into this, Tom Hanks has gone on record as saying he was surprised at just how emotional this one was. And I imagine that makes a lot of sense for him, given the lines he had to read for friggin' Toy Story 3. You know, which was already gut-wrenching for so many of us who grew up with the franchise. But now we've got this fourth installment with Forky over here, which is kind of a misnomer because he's a spork, not a fork. But, you know, the idea here is that he's been created by Bonnie, the new girl that they were dropped off with at the end of 3. You know, Andy kind of gave ownership of all his toys over to Bonnie. But now she's making her own arts and crafts over here. Forky comes to life and is having an identity crisis. You're saying I'm a toy, but I'm designed for soup. I can't deal with this, and he's trying to get out of there. But like many kids of that age, Bonnie can't live without Forky, so Woody has to go and track him down. And in the process, he runs back into Bo Peep, who was missing, we found out, since 3. They end up at an amusement park where there are 2 other carnival toy prizes voiced by Key and Peele. And apparently it's going to be very, very emotional. That's the thing they keep telling us. And we got a taste of that here in this trailer.
I mean, I understand it being emotional for the character of Woody to be getting to see Bo Peep again, but at the same time, I don't get the fizz from this trailer. I really don't. I've got about the same feeling from this as I did from 2. Not that the movie is bad. I don't get any bad feelings from this trailer. It just feels like I don't get a feeling from this trailer.
Like, I look at it this way. 1 is the OG. 2 was okay, but 3 was better than 2.
By far. And I said this every time we've brought up Toy Story, right? When I first heard 3 was announced, I was like, this sounds so stupid. Andy's going to college. This sounds really, really bad. I don't even know if I want to see it. And then the opening, just the very opening of the movie was amazing. The very ending of the movie is amazing. I ate my words entirely when it came to 3.
Because we went as a group to see that one.
We did. I can only hope that 4 does something even remotely similar for me, but I'm not feeling it from this trailer at all. I'm just kind of not.
One of the things we do also have to look forward to in this new movie is a new toy who is a Daredevil, a Canadian Daredevil action figure called Duke Kaboom, who we can confirm is being voiced by Keanu Reeves. So, you know, bring on your John Wick jokes that he's going to somehow save the toys by doing some Daredevil stunt. I think they were saying that the idea of his character is that he's a toy, so he can't do all of the stunts that he knows he should be able to do, because I think he's either scared or whoever owned him was scared to break him. So I think that'll be an interesting thing to look at there. Aside from that, I think we're seeing more of the allure here for Woody that, you know, having been around the block a couple of times, the idea of being a carnival toy somehow appealing to him. But the thing about it is, I don't know how much I buy into that based off Toy Story 2, because, you know, he already went through this once. This idea of being idolized.
No, the only thing that's tugging on him is Bo Peep. Because he loves Bo Peep. That's the only thing tugging on him and making him think that something that is not a good idea is a good idea.
Well, see, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up here, too. So we know Bo Peep was gone, and it was just that one real quick line there in 3 of, you know, we've lost people over the years, so-and-so and so-and-so, and Bo. Like, just that little bit of a pause there was like, oh, something happened. What happened? So, 1, they've got to tell us what happened, and 2, you have to explain how Bo Peep got a different body.
Yeah. Because now she can actually, like, move. Because she was a whole glass body before, right?
Well, yeah, I thought she was like a porcelain figure, not necessarily
glass.
A toy. So, however you guys are going to explain that, go right ahead. Maybe it's not even the same Bo Peep, somehow. I mean, I guess it has to be.
If she recognized, unless, of course, there's lots of Woody out there, too, because he was based on a TV show character.
Exactly, so maybe this is a Bo Peep that knew a different Woody figure. We don't know.
Yeah, I guess we kind of don't. Although, if they're having conversations about Andy, then
it's got to be the same Bo Peep.
Yeah.
But then you have to explain how that works. Beyond that, it's going to be interesting and a little bit bittersweet there because, you know, we lost Don Rickles. We're going to have to hear his voice in here. He did record before he passed, so this is his last performance.
Sure.
So that, you know, we're going to have that little bit there at the end of this movie. I wonder how much they're banking on Forky being marketable here. Because, I mean, if you really got to think about it, Toy Story is about toys. You make action figures. You make Happy Meals for these characters. How are you going to explain Forky in a Happy Meal?
You're going to have to, I imagine, in a Happy Meal, you put them with, like, cars or other little accessories or something. Now, when it comes to Forky, I think you get, like, a Forky construction set. Like, this is not going to be at McDonald's. This is going to be, like, in the toy aisle. Like, they give you a spork, some eyes, some
googly eyes.
The googly eyes, the
pipe cleaner.
Yeah, it's going to be a Forky construction set. You make your own Forky. And in fact, you can even design your own Forky. They're going to give you, like, glitter, and they're going to give you, I don't know, paper and
because
literally,
you only need $5 to go to any local dollar store and make your own Forky.
Yeah, you can't...
It takes nothing to make Forky.
Forky is going to be marketable. You have to get creative with how he's going to be marketable. You have to put him on other pieces of memorabilia, lunchboxes, thermoses, and t-shirts and backpacks. Because
I don't think you can just sell Forky by himself.
You really can't. You have to sell, like, a construction kit to construct your own Forky. And then they're going to have to, like... It's not going to be official unless it's got the Disney brand on the plastic. So that's what it's going to be. You're going to have a spork branded with Disney on it, and it's going to be in a box where you construct your own Forky. That's what it is.
I'm just now thinking of this so we can move on to the next one. The only thing I think would save this for me somehow is if at the end of this movie everything looks lost, Andy finds Woody again and just takes him back. That would save it for me, because if Bonnie let them run off for days... Like, you remember Toy Story 1, Woody and Buzz were only gone for so long.
Yeah.
Same thing in Toy Story 2. They weren't gone for very long. They were trying to stay with a path where they weren't missed. Here, Bonnie's too young to realize, and if she can be distracted by Forky, and she's not giving attention to all these other really awesome, I guess you'd have to say vintage toys now, they deserve to go back to Andy.
Yeah. Andy will take care of them. Like, he won't play with them, but he'll...
But what if Andy by this point has kids?
That's possible.
Time has passed.
That is entirely possible.
Andy gets them back, gives them to his kids. That's the only way you fix this. That's where my money is. If it's not that, then Disney, you got to sell me on something really big to make me feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying you're not capable of it. I'm just saying you've set the bar for yourself pretty high. Yes.
Yes, okay.
So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our second story, which is this merger between Fox and Disney, which was official as of 12:02 p.m. on this coast back on the 20th. So that was just 3 days ago.
It was 12:02 on the East Coast.
Or East Coast, you're right, East Coast. So now it's done. It's there. You know, they've got all the Fox toys to play with now.
They sure do, which is amazing and terrifying. I think the first thing that a lot of people, myself included, thought of was, can we put the fanfare, the 20th Century Fox fanfare, back at the beginning of Star Wars now?
For Episode 9?
We've got Episode 9 coming. Is that a thing you can just slap on there, or is that not a thing that we do still?
I think at this point it would be really disingenuous to do that, because Fox wasn't involved in that at all. I mean, you would be doing it to get that extra little rise out of your fanboys, and they would accept it, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I didn't do anything on this project but put my name on it, you know?
Yeah, but, like, lots of studios do that.
Yeah, I know, but, like,
if they can say in any way, shape, or form that they contributed financially even to the project, they could do it.
Then they could do it. And they've probably thought about that workaround, which is kind of something we were talking about earlier this week, that a lot of people are bringing up here in the chat, is that, you know, they've had their eye on Fox for a while.
Sure, years. This has been in discussion for years.
Yeah, and this merger's been in the works for a while. And we were talking about this earlier when it came down to getting the rights back for Spider-Man. You know, the joint custody thing. And you saw they made the agreement. We're going to bring Spider-Man over to the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Almost immediately, we heard Spider-Man's being included in Civil War. So you knew Kevin Feige talked to somebody, to his writers, and it's like, all right, here's what's up. We're going to get Spider-Man back one way or another. We're going to try and fast-track this thing. As soon as that ink is dry, not even when it's dry, as soon as the pen is hitting the paper, I want a draft on my desk ready to go for Spider-Man's inclusion in Civil War, and they moved on it.
They did,
so
they did.
That having been brought into account, I have no question in my mind that they didn't do the exact same thing with the inclusion of the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
I really feel like it would be a huge mistake if by the end of this...
Or Sony. Correction there, Sony. Thank you.
If by the end of this we do not see just some tease. I don't think we're gonna be thrown in a whole lot of X-Men. I don't think they're gonna be in somewhere in the middle of the movie. I think they would be in an end bumper, a mid-credit roll, end credit roll, sort of a stinger. I just don't get the sensation that they're involved in the middle of this story somewhere. I kind of don't.
Well,
not unless it is a character that is technically unnamed, but is hinted at, and they're also not wearing a costume in any way, shape, or form of the character that they might be later.
Well, I think the easiest thing to do, because some people have been theorizing this for a while now, you remember in Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony has sold off Stark Tower to move the Avengers upstate. You know, they've got that base up there. So the big question that everybody was wondering is who bought the building? Because he sold it to somebody, and we know Marvel's got something in the works. So there were two major ideas that people were theorizing about who it could be. The first one, which I think is
Professor X?
Well, no. The first one that a lot of people were bringing up was that it was Norman Osborn.
That's
he's going to put
yeah.
Oscorp in the building, which would tie into the story we're already seeing. The other one that people were really hoping about is it's really easy to turn the Avengers A into a 4. And that it's going to become the Baxter building.
Yeah.
Which would be the home of the Fantastic Four. That would be, I think, the really easy tease is to look up and you see the 4 on the building now. If that was the case, it's easy. You don't even have to say anything. All you gotta do is show the 4.
Can people get excited for Fantastic Four again?
That's the bigger question, because a lot of things are going against the Fantastic Four's favor here, as we've talked about many times here on the show. First and foremost, we've already dealt with one okay-ish Fantastic Four movie, one not so great, and one really bad one.
And then one made for TV, one that didn't actually get anywhere, that was like, oh, you did a pretty alright job. I wonder why this didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, and then we had the best Fantastic Four movie, which was called The Incredibles. Everybody agrees on that.
Yeah.
That was the best Fantastic Four movie, and its sequel, which is okay. So at this point, you know, you really have to sell it to us again. Some people have theorized that if you're going to include the Fantastic Four, you can't do a modern day. You kind of do it like Hank Pym Ant-Man, and they already happened. Like, you do it as when they came out, 60s retro style. You know, that had already happened in the past of the Marvel Universe.
I mean, isn't that what X-Men's kind of been trying to do for a while now anyway?
Well, yeah, but now they're playing catch-up, and with Dark Phoenix, they're up to the 90s again, which is weird because James McAvoy don't look a thing like Patrick Stewart did, and that's only 10 years removed from that story.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. But that's all being scrapped. Like, none of those actors are being brought back. Hell, James McAvoy is saying he wants to play Riddler over in the DC universe.
Let him
which I'm fine with that. I'm still on the David Tennant boat that he should be a really good Riddler, but I could see James McAvoy doing it. I could. But that having been said, you've got that to deal with. You've also got these other interesting things that you don't really think about, like Anastasia's a Disney princess now.
That's true. Don Bluth got his girls back over to Disney.
That means they could do stuff with Secret of NIMH again. That was Fox.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it Fox? Because I know that Titan AE was Fox for sure. So yeah,
they could do a reboot on that.
I don't know if anybody would want to. Anastasia and Titan AE were both incredibly safe ventures for Fox. They were just like, all right, Don Bluth, he had some amazing stuff in the 80s and 90s. Like, let's get this guy in here, and but he had nothing to do with like the writing of those movies.
Now, to be fair, Anastasia's doing really well as a musical now. So
based on his animated movie?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
I told you about this.
I really don't remember it.
Well, I gotta show you.
Titan AE 2, it's coming. If it is, I mean, I felt like Titan AE had a lot of potential. If you look at those DVDs and you see all of the additional background information about the creation of the movie, there's just so much unused stuff.
Yeah.
Just it's amazingly huge universe that there's just no way that movie could have ever touched.
Okay, what if they go series on it?
If they did a series, that would be pretty good. I'd be down with a series. I think they should do a series.
Like The Settling of Bob.
The Settling of Planet Bob.
The Settling of Planet Bob. You know, they tell that story of like, this is what it's like to settle this new planet.
Yeah, I was pretty sure Nim was not Fox. I was pretty sure Nim was MGM.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Fox bought the
distribution.
The distribution on that.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's MGM.
I'm gonna have to double check on that then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's MGM.
Because I am trusting you guys to keep me honest here. If I'm not up to par on that, then let me know. But that having been brought up, there's some other things that count there. Technically, the Alien Queen counts as a Disney princess.
Yeah.
They own the rights to Rocky Horror Picture Show, so Professor Frankenfurter might count as a Disney princess.
It depends on how he's feeling, I guess.
I guess. But it also means that they've also got...
he's a queen. He's a queen, all right? Get it straight.
True. But you think about... now that they've...
sing.
Yes. I see what you did there. Nice. But the thing about it is they've also got all of these other things that Fox has in their wheelhouse. A lot of jobs are starting to be cut now.
That is very unfortunate because, you know, I understand why they make that decision. Like, why have two different sets of people that do literally the exact same job in the same company? But people need jobs, man. Like, people need jobs. Interesting, though. LucasArts, I know this is kind of sort of unattached, but
well, kind of because we're kind of talking Disney
because
here.
we're talking Disney, and Lucasfilm is underneath Disney now, and has been for a few years now. Bringing back LucasArts, maybe some
that
people,
they just announced this week too. Yes,
really Lucasfilm Games, which is what became LucasArts. I feel like there's different sort of places that these people could get reshuffled to, and I wonder if they just haven't thought about a way of doing that, and instead they're just like, just axe them.
Well, I imagine, you know, the whole bottom line here is that you make this agreement because you're trying to strengthen your brand name, you want to bring in all these other things, which is very worrisome, but at the same time, you know why they're doing it, which is the motivation of money. You know,
Sure.
They want to keep their giraffe money coming, and part of making giraffe money is saving giraffe money, and you do that by cutting costs, cutting jobs.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is a lot of these people want to be able to say, hey, I've still got gainful employment at one of these companies. Some people could be like, hey, I'm finally working for Disney. No, you're not. So it sucks when stuff like this happens. Yeah, it's really worrisome that like one brand owns just about everything at this point. It's a little worrisome. I think
like they've got Simpsons.
They've got Simpsons now.
Which this is really interesting because we already had some concerns about how Universal had in their theme parks, Universal Studios had like Islands of Adventure, and they had all these Marvel characters in it. And then put on top of that, they got like the Simpsons ride and all these other little Simpsons locations.
Man,
like
Universal is screwed.
They've got Moe's Tavern and the Quickie Mart and stuff
and
like
the
that.
Krusty Ride.
And the Krusty Ride. So yeah. What are you gonna do, Universal? Like, I have to imagine that the licensing gets to stick around for a certain amount of time.
They must have to pay out now.
They either have to pay out, or at a certain amount of time, they're gonna have to reinvent Universal Studios.
Well, yeah, because like they've got the Simpsons ride, they've got the Spider-Man ride. They've got the Hulk coaster.
Yeah.
They must have to pay out on those.
I'm sure they must, yeah.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah. And so, as some people are saying, not everything Fox is going over to Disney. Take, for example, Fox News is apparently still a totally separate entity, which, you know what? I can understand why Disney doesn't want Fox News. That makes sense to me.
Who would?
Fox wants its own stuff. They want to be able to have control over that channel. That's fine. They can do what they want to do. They can do whatever they want. That having been said, Disney's got a lot more area to play with. Lots of cool stuff that they could be doing, but at what cost? Comes at the cost of a lot of labor, of a lot of labor getting cut. Hopefully, better things come out of it more often than worse, but okay, time to stop Disney now. This should be it.
This should be the line.
Let's stop it here. Anything more than this, that's dangerous territory.
I think it's already dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, definitely, if they start saying, hey, DC's looking kind of good right now. No, we don't allow that.
No.
We do not do that here. All right, so that's everything we've got on the merger. Let's go ahead and move on to some Netflix with this new trailer for Stranger Things 3. Yes, and here we go. So yeah, like I was saying at the top of the show, we got peak 80s here. It's 1985 now. So I don't know if I've been born yet in this series.
Not if it's July. Aren't they doing 4th of July?
Well,
no,
the release date is going to be 4th of July.
Yeah, but isn't some of this taking place kind of?
It might be. So I'll be born in another month or so.
Yeah.
Or another couple weeks.
Depends on how long this whole season takes.
Well, because I'm thinking about it. You know, the first season, flashbacks aside, takes place over about, what, a month?
Something like that,
give or take. And then season 2 is a couple of weeks, right?
I want to say so, yes.
Not nearly as long. And here, we can't really get a good sense for how long it's been. We do know that there's been a time jump because naturally the actors there,
you can't hide that they've aged.
You can't anymore. So, you know, now they've moved on deeper into middle school. Voices are changing. They're getting taller. And we've got some other eldritch, otherworldly threat that they're having to deal with. And we don't know what it is this time.
No, so far, it looks like just kind of a stereotypical 80s drama with some little tiny touches of, like, horror elements to it. And it still feels like Stranger Things, but still, it's not as scary looking yet. Like, I'm not super scared by it just yet, and I'm hoping that that's only because they're trying to keep it a secret still. They're trying really, really hard to keep it a secret. Which is fine, because if it's the exact same equal amount of just 80s drama with horror that it's been the last 2 seasons, then great. Nothing has changed. It's still the same series that we have loved these last 2 seasons, and I'm hoping the trailer is just hiding things.
Well, because we can see here that, you know, we've got 11 there. You know, she's getting accustomed to her new life there. She's getting along with the other girl whose name escapes me because I didn't really like her character all that much. But, you know, they're embracing the 80s fashion. They're having fun. They're going to the mall. But there's something else going on here.
They've got a county fair. I'm so excited that they've got the Gravitron. That was always my favorite ride.
When you could ride it.
I only could not ride it when I became an adult. And then riding the Gravitron gave me migraines and made me throw up as I became an adult. But as a kid, I rode it over and over and over and over
again. Well, no, we
just
have to give you some nausea medication ahead of time. Usually that does the trick.
It helps. It doesn't prevent me from feeling totally ill, but it'll let me take the one ride and be like, all right, I'm glad I did it, but I can't do any more of it.
I'll still go. I just need to not eat beforehand. Not eat heavy. You know.
That's a good point.
But going into this one, I think it's going to be interesting. Like, you know, some people are asking, is this the last season? They didn't say anything about that. We would have known. So they have an idea that they want this to keep going. I imagine, how far do you follow them? How far can you take this story?
Sort of feels like you could just keep going so long as there's not one super evil entity that needs to be stopped. So long as, like, supernatural things continue to exist, you could just go forever. So long as you had the finances to do it, so long as you kept people on board, you could potentially never stop.
Because the thing about it is, you know, kind of like thinking about the cancellation of Arrow, and then this week Supernatural, there's only so long you can tell a story before it starts to get long in the tooth.
Sure.
Now, if the Duffer Brothers manage to keep it fresh, as they've been managing to do, when we think about it, it's only been 2 seasons. And going into this third one, yeah, I'm not really seeing the horror elements that drew in a lot of people for those initial 2 seasons. So I'm wondering if they haven't already run out of ideas.
I don't think it's a matter of having run out of ideas. I think it's a matter of this is the direction they've decided to go in. I think there's plenty of ideas you could still dip into. I think that at some point you could dip into very Lovecraftian kind of horror, and
which is kind of what I saw last season.
Yeah, but they keep dipping into like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. At a certain point, they're gonna start dipping into home console gaming. Because at this point, home console gaming is slowly starting to pick up.
They're on the cusp of it.
They're right at the cusp, but like it's already a thing at this point. The NES has got to be out by now.
When did the NES come out? 80?
Was it 85? I'm pretty sure it was 85.
88.
Was it 88? I don't know.
I want to say it was 88.
Oh.
Somebody back me up on that or correct me. But they're the Atari's out.
Yes, by now the Atari's out, the ColecoVision's out, the Intellivision's out.
Yeah, okay, so they've got those 3.
Home console gaming is a thing by this point. It's just not in every single home yet, because it's very expensive at this point.
85. Okay, so they would be touching on that.
Yeah, the NES came out in 85. So, by all means, this is the Nintendo era. They are in the Nintendo era at this point. Yes, they could start, if they are all nerds and geeks, okay, there's Ghostbusters video games, all right, that came out. We already dealt with the Ghostbusters nostalgia. We've already done Ghostbusters nostalgia. They've already done D&D. They can do gaming.
They could potentially.
I guarantee
now they're saying here that it's
touch
October 85, so they
could be getting hyped over the NES because they've already got to be living in the era of, like I said, the Atari 2600.
They've been going to the arcade all last season.
Yeah, so they're already gamers. They are already both tabletop and arcade gamers. I promise you, they're going to be excited for home console gaming.
So I imagine if they were going to continue this, if you go into them being in, say, high school, and you tie it to something like that, like home gaming, like they get a cartridge or something, and it's tied to the other side, or the upside down, I should say, then yeah, I could get behind a story like that. More shadowy intrigue stuff, because really last season we were dealing with the leftovers from season 1.
Right.
And here, it looks like it's supposed to be a fresh threat. And, okay, so you have to sell me on this new threat, But I still like the idea of a shadowy organization. If you can put another one out there, I would go for that.
Sure, I agree.
Now, I imagine we still got a couple of months to go on this, so we'll probably get another trailer before this is all said and done.
That's why I feel like, yeah, this trailer isn't telling us everything. I guarantee you it's not telling us everything.
I'll tell you one thing it is telling us. I bet you anything Hopper's trying to date Joyce again.
Very likely. It's very, very likely.
Because, that flame still burns.
Yeah, she did sort of lose somebody very important to her, too, so.
Yeah. He didn't deserve that. Sean Astin didn't deserve that. Bob was so good.
Spoilers for season 2.
It's been long enough.
I hope so, for the sake of our audience.
For the sake of our audience, justice for Bob. But that having been said, we've got this to look forward to. We were hoping we were going to get it last Halloween, because that's what people were kind of hoping for. Like, hey, we did it the last 2 years, marathon through Stranger Things on Halloween. That's a thing we all do. But they pushed it to this summer.
I think that's fair, so long as they're doing a summer
theme.
Yeah, if they're doing a summer theme and we get to see it during the summer, I think that's great. I think that's super appropriate. I'm excited for some summer horror.
Then I would imagine just to kind of keep with dealing with seasons, that if they go to season 4, which I imagine they'll announce right after this does well at launch, they're going to do a Christmas thing.
I hope so. I think that would be great.
Because then they could tie it to your console thing, like, hey, look what you got for Christmas. It's the Nintendo. You got Rob. Have fun with that robot.
And that stupid pad
that nobody ever stepped on. You just went.
And then you just step off to the side and then let it jump for you.
Exactly.
Cheating with Nintendo. The Power Glove. A lot of Power Glove stuff's gonna be happening. Yeah.
So 4 months, guys. We got a little bit to wait on this, but hopefully we're getting something good from the Duffers. Yes.
Hope so. All right. I think we better wrap up the show now. Thank you
Yes.
guys so very much for coming out again to hang out with us on yet another Saturday. Very greatly appreciated. To those of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. Of course, it would be great if you could come down here and hang out with us. Give us a follow over here on Twitch so that you get the notifications. We've not been quite as regular on exactly Friday or Saturday the last 2
On
weeks.
weekends. We do weekends.
Yeah, we can say going into the weekend that we've been pretty good about still doing it going into the weekend. But please come on down here, hang out with us, hang out with the people in the chat room. These guys have been very, very good to us. It's super fun to hang out with you guys, and this is the only way that you're going to be able to hang out with us for an additional half an hour to join us for our Q&A time, because otherwise that's just something on YouTube that you do not see.
Yes, and of course during the week you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
And that having been said, this has been another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you again next episode. Take care, guys.
Thank you, everybody.